The silent call. The phone rang shortly after 8 o'clock at night. Daniel was sitting alone in the living room of his small apartment when he saw his ex-wife, Amanda's name, appear on the screen. Over the past few months since their separation, almost every conversation between them had ended in an argument. The custody battle over their children had left deep scars, and the recent court decision granting Amanda primary custody had only made things worse. Even so, she rarely called at that hour without a good reason. Daniel answered immediately. "Hello?" On the other end of the line, there was only silence. He frowned. "Amanda? Can you hear me?" Nothing. For a few seconds, he heard only a faint, distant noise, as if the phone had been dropped somewhere inside the house. Then the call suddenly ended. Daniel stared at the screen. Something felt wrong. Amanda would never play a prank like that. He considered calling her back, but the call went straight to voicemail. He tried again, the same result. A growing sense of unease settled in his chest. Without thinking twice, he grabbed his car keys and left. Amanda's house was about 15 minutes away. During the drive, Daniel tried to convince himself that he was overreacting. Maybe she had dropped her phone. Maybe the battery had died. Maybe one of the boys had accidentally pressed a button while playing. But the closer he got, the stronger the feeling became that something terrible had happened. As he turned onto Amanda's street, he immediately noticed something was wrong. The front door was slightly open. The lights inside the house were still on, illuminating the dark front yard. His heart began to race. Daniel parked abruptly and ran toward the entrance. "Amanda!" he shouted. No answer. He pushed the door open and stepped inside. The living room looked as though a violent storm had torn through it. Furniture had been overturned. Picture frames had been ripped from the walls. Broken glass covered the floor. Signs of a struggle were everywhere. The air felt heavy. "Amanda, Lucas, Peter." His voice echoed throughout the house. Then he saw something that made his legs go weak. There were bloodstains in the hallway. Daniel felt his stomach turn. Following the trail, he reached the back family room. There he found Amanda lying near the couch, severely injured but still breathing. Her face was bruised and each breath seemed weaker than the last. "My God." He rushed to her side. Amanda opened her eyes for a brief moment. She seemed to be trying to say something, but no words came out. In desperation, Daniel pulled out his phone and called emergency services. While speaking with the dispatcher, he heard a faint sound coming from upstairs. Without ending the call, he sprinted toward the staircase.
The children's bedroom was in ruins. Toys were scattered across the floor. Furniture had been knocked over. And there were Lucas and Peter, badly injured but still alive. Daniel dropped to his knees. Panic overwhelmed him. For months, he and Amanda had fought over money, custody, and years of built-up resentment. More than once, he had believed they would never be able to get along again. But in that moment, looking at his children, none of those arguments mattered. Nothing mattered. All he wanted was for them to survive. The next few minutes felt like hours. Finally, sirens echoed outside. Police officers and paramedics rushed into the house. Daniel was moved aside as emergency crews began treating the victims. The home quickly became an active crime scene. As he watched Amanda and the children being carried into ambulances, Daniel felt a mixture of fear, guilt, and helplessness. He didn't know who had done this. He didn't know why. He didn't know whether his family would survive. But he knew one thing for certain. His life would never be the same again. Later that night, sitting alone in the hospital waiting room beneath the cold fluorescent lights. Daniel realized how much time he had wasted holding on to anger and resentment. For months, he had convinced himself that the custody battle was the most important thing in the world. Now, faced with the possibility of losing the people he loved most, all of it seemed meaningless. The hours passed slowly until a doctor finally appeared. The man removed his mask and took a deep breath. Daniel immediately stood up. The next words would determine the future of his family. And in that moment, the silence filling the hallway felt just as terrifying as the silence on that mysterious phone call that had changed everything.